I'm Abigail Mitchell, 32, and I never thought an email could shatter my world. Growing up, I always felt like the understudy to my brother James's lead role in our family. But nothing prepared me for what happened last Christmas. No invitation to dinner, just an $8,100 invoice for my brother's European vacation. My parents chose him again, but this time, I chose myself. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button if you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family. Growing up in Brookline, an affluent Boston suburb, should have been idyllic. Our colonial-style house, with its manicured lawn and heated swimming pool, looked perfect from the outside. My parents, Elizabeth and Robert Mitchell, provided everything we needed materially. Dad was a successful investment banker, Mom a former corporate attorney who became a stay-at-home mother when James was born. On paper, we were the American dream. But inside those pristine walls, I always felt like I was auditioning for a role I'd never get. From my earliest memories, James was the son our family orbited around. 3 years younger than me, he had this effortless charm that made everyone gravitate toward him. His blue eyes, identical to my father's, would light up and somehow rules would bend. James is just more sensitive, Mom would say when he'd throw tantrums about bedtime while I dutifully followed the 8:30 p.m. rule. He's artistic, Dad would explain when James failed math, the same subject I received stern lectures about needing to excel in for college applications. When I turned 16, I wanted a car, not even a new one. I'd saved $3,000 from 2 years of babysitting and summer jobs. My parents told me they'd match half if I maintained my 4.0 GPA. I did and got a used Honda Civic. 6 months later, James turned 16. Dad came home with a brand new Jeep Wrangler, wrapped in a giant red bow. No conditions. No savings required. Your brother needs confidence, Mom explained when she saw my face. You've always been so independent, Abby. Independent wasn't a choice. It was the only option I had. College followed the same pattern. I applied to 7 schools, got into Princeton, my dream school, but only received partial scholarship. We can contribute $10,000 a year, my father announced. The rest is on you. It'll build character. I graduated with $87,000 in student loans. 2 years later, James got accepted to NYU for photography, not exactly a practical degree in my parents' usual assessment. Yet they covered every penny of his $280,000 education, including a luxury apartment in Manhattan because dorms would stifle his creativity. Despite everything, I excelled. I graduated with honors, moved to Chicago for an entry-level marketing position, and climbed the corporate ladder through sheer determination. 6 years later, at 32, I became the youngest senior marketing director at Horizon Media Group, managing campaigns for Fortune 500 companies. My apartment in Lincoln Park isn't extravagant, but it's mine. Every piece of furniture, every artwork on the wall, I purchased with money I earned. My social circle consists of genuine friends who appreciate me for who I am, not what I can provide. And Ryan, my boyfriend of 2 years, sees me in ways my family never did. You're incredible, Abby, he'd say, watching me prepare presentations late into the night. Your drive amazes me. 3 months before last Christmas, I received a promotion that came with a substantial raise. I was ecstatic, immediately calling my parents to share the news. That's nice, honey, Mom said, distracted. Did I tell you James is dating a gallery owner's daughter? This could be his big break. 20 minutes of James updates later, she had to go. My promotion remained unacknowledged. Holidays with my family were always an exercise in emotional endurance. Each Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'd fly to Boston, bearing carefully selected gifts and prepared anecdotes that painted my life as successful without seeming boastful. I'd listen to endless stories about James's latest photography exhibition or travel adventure, nodding and smiling appropriately. You're so lucky to have such a stable job, Abby, Mom would say, as if my career achievements were some consolation prize compared to James's artistic pursuits. Yet, I kept trying. I sent birthday cards, called weekly, remembered their anniversaries. I maintained the connection not because they deserved it, but because I thought family should matter. Blood should be thicker than water, right? 2 weeks before last Christmas, Mom called, which was unusual. I was typically the one initiating contact. Abby, darling, how are you? Her voice had that high-pitched quality it got when she was uncomfortable. I'm good. Busy with end-of-year campaigns, I replied, immediately sensing something was off. That's wonderful. Listen, about Christmas this year, things might be a little different. My stomach tightened. Different how? Well, we're doing some renovations on the house. The dining room is completely torn apart. It's going to be quite cramped. It was a bizarre excuse. Their house had 3 reception rooms and a conservatory. I can sleep on the couch if the guest room is affected, I offered. It's not just that, she continued, her voice trailing. James is bringing Melissa, and you know how your father gets when too many people are around during the holidays. Yes, I knew exactly how my father got during holidays. He became the jovial patriarch who mixed perfect old fashions and told embarrassing stories about James's childhood adventures, while mine remained conspicuously absent from the family lore. So what are you saying, Mom? Maybe this year it might be easier if we keep it small. That was the first indication that for the first time in my adult life, I wouldn't be welcome at my family's Christmas table. As December progressed, my inbox remained conspicuously empty of any formal Christmas invitation. In previous years, Mom would send an email by the first week of December, outlining the holiday schedule with military precision. Christmas Eve dinner at 7 p.m., church service at 11 p.m., presents Christmas morning at 9 a.m. sharp, followed by brunch. By December 15th, with flights filling up and prices soaring, I couldn't ignore the silence any longer. I called home on my lunch break, pacing around my office with the door closed. Hi, Mom. I was wondering about the Christmas plans. I need to book my flight soon. There was a pause on the line, too long to be natural. Oh, Abby, didn't I mention? We're doing things differently this year. In the background, I could hear my father's voice. Tell her we're just keeping it to the 3 of us and Melissa. The renovation makes it too crowded. My hand tightened around the phone. Mom, are you saying I'm not invited to Christmas? Another pause. Not invited, darling. It's just that with the dining room being renovated and James bringing Melissa, the timing isn't ideal. You understand, don't you? You're so good at understanding. That was my role in the family, the one who understood, who accommodated, who never made waves. So James and his girlfriend of 3 months are invited, but I'm not? My voice remained steady, though my free hand had curled into a fist. Melissa needs to experience a proper Mitchell family Christmas, Mom explained, as if I were asking about a stranger, rather than my own exclusion. And you've had 32 of them already. 32 Christmases where I sat at the table feeling like an audience member rather than part of the cast. 32 Christmases of watching James receive thoughtful, expensive gifts while I got scented candles and generic sweaters. I see. I've forced myself to sound neutral. Well, thanks for letting me know. You're not upset, are you? You've always been so independent. I thought you might even be relieved not to make the trip. You're probably so busy with work. I'm not upset, I lied. I'll figure something out. That's my girl. Always so practical. We'll FaceTime on Christmas Day, of course. After hanging up, I sat at my desk staring at my computer screen without seeing it. The office Christmas party continued down the hall, laughter and holiday music creating a surreal soundtrack to my exclusion. I called Stephanie, my best friend since college. They did what? She exploded after I explained. That's not doing things differently. That's uninviting you from your family Christmas while including your brother and his brand new girlfriend. That's messed up, Abby. Maybe it really is about the renovation, I offered weakly. Oh, please. Your parents' house is bigger than most hotels. This is next-level favoritism. Deep down, I knew she was right. Still, admitting it felt like failure. Like confirming I wasn't worth including. That evening, Ryan came over with takeout Thai food, listening as I recounted the conversation. "Stay here for Christmas," he said, taking my hand. "Come to my family's celebration. My mom already asks about you constantly." The thought of spending Christmas with Ryan's warm, chaotic family, his parents, 3 sisters, their partners, and 5 nieces and nephews, was tempting. They were loud, affectionate, and genuinely interested in each other's lives. "I don't want to intrude on your family time," I hedged. "Abby," Ryan's voice was gentle but firm. "You wouldn't be intruding. They want you there. Unlike some people, they actually value you." I spent the next week trying to convince myself it didn't matter. I was an adult. Christmas was just another day. I had Ryan, Stephanie, and other friends who cared about me. Missing one family Christmas wasn't the end of the world. Yet each night, I'd find myself scrolling through my mother's social media posts, pictures of their fully decorated house, the dining room looking completely untouched by any renovation, the massive tree in the living room with presents already piled beneath it. One photo showed 4 stockings hanging from the mantel, Mom, Dad, James, and one presumably for Melissa. For 32 years, there had been a stocking with my name embroidered across the top. Where was it now? Packed away in the attic? Given to Goodwill? The thought of it made my chest ache. On December 23rd, my mother sent a group text with a photo of James and Melissa arriving at the house, luggage in hand. "The family is together for Christmas," the caption read. I stared at the word family until my vision blurred. I didn't respond to the text. Instead, I turned off my phone and helped Ryan wrap presents for his nieces and nephews, trying to focus on the Christmas I would have rather than the one I was denied. December 28th. The artificial Christmas tree in my apartment still twinkled in the corner, surrounded by gifts from Ryan, Stephanie, and other friends. Despite my initial disappointment, Christmas with Ryan's family had been genuinely enjoyable. His mother had insisted I help make her secret recipe cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning. His father had called me kiddo and poured me extra bourbon in my eggnog, and his nieces had climbed into my lap during present opening, asking if I would braid their hair the pretty way later. It was warmth without conditions, inclusion without audition. My phone pinged with an email notification. My father's name appeared in the sender line with the subject "Financial Matters, Urgent." Dad rarely emailed me. Our communication typically passed through Mom, or during the obligatory 5 minutes he'd speak to me when I called home. My finger hovered over the notification. The last time he'd contacted me directly was 3 years ago when he needed information for his accountant about my student loans. I clicked open the email. Abigail. Attached, please find an invoice for family expenses incurred during the 4th quarter. As you are now in a senior position with appropriate compensation, it is time for you to contribute to family costs proportionate to your means. Payment due by January 15th. Regards, Robert Mitchell. No, Merry Christmas. No, how are you? Just a demand for money with a deadline. I opened the attached PDF, certain there must be some mistake. It was a formal invoice created with accounting software, bearing my father's company letterhead. At the top in bold letters, invoice #4328, B, amount due, $8,100. Below was an itemized list. 1. James Mitchell, professional development trip to Europe, Paris, Rome, Amsterdam, $4,200. 2. Melissa Gardner, travel companion expenses, $2,800. 3. Professional photography equipment upgrade, $1,100. The invoice included bank details for wire transfer and a note. Late payment will incur 1.5% weekly interest. I stared at my screen, unable to process what I was seeing. My parents had excluded me from Christmas dinner, A dinner that apparently had plenty of room for James and his new girlfriend, and now were billing me $8,100 for my brother's European vacation and camera equipment. My phone rang. Stephanie's name flashed on the screen. "Hey, I just got the weirdest email from my dad," I said in lieu of greeting. "What kind of weird?" "The kind where they send me an $8,100 invoice for James's trip to Europe with his girlfriend. And new camera equipment." "They what?" Stephanie's voice rose so high it crackled through the speaker. "Tell me you're joking." I forwarded her the email while we were still on the phone. "Holy shit, Abby. This is real? This isn't some kind of bizarre joke." "Apparently not. It has my father's company letterhead and everything. But they excluded you from Christmas and then want you to pay for your brother's luxury vacation? That's beyond favoritism. That's exploitation." The word hit me like a slap. Exploitation. Had I been so normalized to being treated as less than that I couldn't recognize when I was being used? "You need to call them," Stephanie insisted. "Right now." Hands shaking, I called my parents' home phone. Dad answered on the second ring. "Abigail, I assume you received my email." "Dad, what is this? Why are you sending me an invoice for James's trip?" "As I explained in the email, you're in a financial position to contribute to family expenses. James needed that trip for his portfolio development. The European architecture series he shot will be featured in Melissa's gallery next month." "But why am I paying for it?" "And for his girlfriend to go along." "Melissa provided essential artistic direction," he replied, as if it were perfectly reasonable. "And you make good money now. Your brother is still establishing himself in a competitive field." "Dad, I wasn't even invited to Christmas dinner." There was a pause. "That's a separate issue." The house was crowded with the renovation. "What renovation?" "Mom's been posting pictures of the house all month." "Nothing's being renovated." Another pause. "The plans changed. Regardless, this invoice reflects your fair share of family expenses." "Fair share? I paid my own way through college. I have student loans I'm still paying off. James got a free ride, and now you want me to fund his vacation. Your brother has different needs. His career requires travel and equipment. Your corporate job provides stability." The stability I'd fought for. The stability I'd earned without their help. "Put Mom on the phone, please." I heard muffled voices, then my mother's tentative hello. "Mom, did you know about this invoice?" "Well, yes, darling. Your father and I discussed it. James really needed this opportunity, and we've been supporting him for so long. We thought since you're doing so well now." "You canceled my Christmas invitation but want me to pay for James's trip with his girlfriend?" "We didn't cancel, Abby. We just postponed your visit. And the trip was already booked before we realized the house would be too crowded." I took a deep breath. "Have you ever sent James an invoice for anything I needed?" "That's different. You've always been so independent, so capable." "Because I had to be. I didn't have a choice." "Abby, please don't raise your voice. This is exactly why we thought a quieter Christmas made sense this year. You've been so stressed with work." The conversation continued in circles. Every question I asked was deflected with praise for my independence or references to James's special needs as an artist. Before hanging up, I learned one final detail that crystallized everything. My parents had promised to send me a check for $500 for my birthday in November, a rare gesture of financial support from them. The check never arrived. Now I understood why. They'd canceled it to help cover James's trip. After the call, I sat in stunned silence. All the years of unequal treatment flashed before me, not as isolated incidents, but as a pattern so clear it was impossible to unsee. My parents didn't see me as their daughter entitled to the same love and support as their son. They saw me as a resource to be tapped when their golden child needed more than they could provide. For the first time, I allowed myself to truly feel the anger that had been simmering beneath the surface for decades. "They're never going to change," Stephanie said over wine at my apartment the next evening. "You realize that, right?" I nodded, staring into my glass. I think I've always known. I just didn't want to believe it. What are you going to do about the invoice? Ryan asked, his arm protectively around my shoulders. I don't know yet. Part of me wants to pay it just to avoid the conflict. Another part wants to tell them to go to hell. The fact that you're even considering paying it shows how conditioned you are to accept their treatment, Stephanie pointed out. Would James ever receive an invoice for something you needed? We all knew the answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I pulled out old photo albums from my childhood, searching for evidence that I'd somehow misremembered our family dynamic. Maybe there were times when my parents had shown me the same unconditional support they gave James. The photos told the same story I already knew. James front and center at family gatherings. James with arms around both parents. Me often slightly separated, sometimes literally in the background. In one Christmas photo, James sat surrounded by open presents, a new gaming system, a mountain bike, designer clothes, while I held up a journal and scarf, smiling that tight smile I'd perfected to hide disappointment. By 3 a.m., I was searching through emails, finding patterns I'd normalized for years. Abby, could you send James $200 for his car repair? We're a bit tight this month. While they were vacationing in Bermuda. Your brother needs to focus on his exhibition. Could you call and wish him luck? He's feeling nervous. On the day of my surgery. We're so proud of James for pursuing his passion. When he quit his third job in a year. Congratulations on your promotion, honey. Can you help us set up our new phones when you visit? My promotion to management, reduced to tech support. The next morning, bleary-eyed from lack of sleep, I called my therapist, Dr. Winters, and asked for an emergency session. What you're describing is a classic golden child/scapegoat dynamic, she explained after listening to my story. It's a form of family dysfunction where one child receives most of the positive attention, while another shoulders the family's expectations and responsibilities. But why? My voice cracked. What did I do wrong? Nothing, Abby. These roles are assigned early, often unconsciously. They rarely reflect anything about the children themselves. They're about the parents' needs and issues. So what do I do about this invoice? That depends on what outcome you want. Paying it maintains the status quo. Refusing forces a confrontation that might change your relationship with your family, for better or worse. What if I lose them completely? Despite everything, the thought terrified me. Ask yourself this. Do you currently have the relationship you actually want with them, or the relationship you've been pretending is enough? The question hit hard. I'd been accepting scraps from the family table for my entire life, convincing myself it was a feast. That evening, I couldn't focus on anything. Ryan suggested a walk along Lake Michigan to clear my head. The December wind whipped across the water, bitter cold but clarifying. I keep thinking about what Dr. Winters said. I told him, our breaths forming clouds in the frigid air. About whether I have the relationship I want with my family. And do you? He asked simply. No. I have the relationship I've settled for because I was afraid of having no relationship at all. I stopped walking, turning to face him. I'm tired of being afraid, Ryan. I'm tired of being the responsible one who gets nothing in return. So, what are you going to do? For 3 more days, I oscillated between options, sleep-deprived and anxiety-ridden. Pay the invoice and maintain the peace. Refuse and face the fallout. Each path seemed equally terrifying. Then a strange thought occurred to me. I was still an authorized user on my parents' credit card accounts, arrangements made during college that had never been updated. I hadn't used the cards in years, but technically I still had access. This realization sparked something in me, not a desire for revenge, but a recognition of my own power in this situation. For the first time, I saw clearly how my financial independence could be both my shield and my voice. After another session with Dr. Winters focused on setting healthy boundaries, I made my decision. I wouldn't just respond to the invoice. I would redefine my relationship with my family on my terms. I need to take a stand, I told Ryan that night. Not out of